Hi, I'm Patricia Greenberg. I'm thrilled to have with me today Marta Kane, best known as Judy Robinson from the iconic series Lost in Space, a series that ran from 1965 to 68. And I think this show captured the heart of every kid in America. Marta, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you. Actually, that Kane is my married name. I
Okay.
married into a huge Irish family, and which was wonderful. And but my working name was Kristen, Marta Kristen, K-R.
Okay, Marta Kristen. Okay. So we're gonna make note of that. So Marta, first of all, let's start off. Tell us, how did you become an actress? That I think that's harder than any profession I know. We all know that.
I was in an orphanage until I was 5, and I think in a Norwegian orphanage. And because I was half German, I I wasn't accepted. And there was quite a bit of hostility. The older I got, the more the hostility became apparent to me. And so I couldn't be adopted in that orphanage, from that orphanage within Norway. But what I found was that if I entertained, if I sang and danced, I could win people over. And so that was sort of my beginning. And then I was adopted by two wonderful, amazing people, Harold and Bertha Soderquist, who were both teachers. And when they picked me up from Scandinavian Airlines in New York City, or in the New York area, uh, they said I got off the plane and towards them, walking towards them like Charlie Chaplin
Ah.
from the tramp, right? And so being teachers, educators, they realized, so there's something here that interests Marta. Little Birgit, actually, my name was Birgit. And so they immediately, almost immediately put me into dance and singing. I couldn't speak English, of course,
That's what I
but
was going to say. You didn't even speak English when you got here, I'm sure. Yeah.
there I was with a whole bunch of 5-year-olds, dancing away and trying to sing along, but it didn't matter. I was loving it. And so I got into all kinds of small theater. My father taught at Wayne State, taught philosophy of education at Wayne State University in Detroit. And he got me involved with the children's program there. I was playing old ladies when I was, 10 years old. Oh, I just a wonderful, wonderful education in theater, and I was doing small theater, Little Women. I mean, all and just loving every single minute of it. So it was not a difficult transition for me when we came out here for my parents to take a sabbatical from Michigan. My father to write a book about Kierkegaard and to be with family, my mother's family. And I immediately started working. Well, first I became involved in community theater, which I tell every young person,
Mhm.
just do it,
Yeah.
get involved, be a part of theater wherever you can, be a part of any kind of dancer or any musical program, and just get the experience under your belt. And James Harris, the producer of Lolita, came up to me. I was 15 in a restaurant in Santa Monica and said, "Are you interested in acting?" And I said, "I've never been interested in anything else." And he said, "Well, I'm producing a movie called Lolita." And he said, I think you'd make a very good Lolita." The famous director, Stanley Kubrick.
Did you know the story of Lolita at that age? Did you?
No, I did not.
Yeah, yeah,
But
okay.
he did say, "I would love to have you read the book. I would love for you to
Mhm.
have your parents read it. And then I want to meet with you and we'll talk." And well, my parents said no. And I said, I think I would love to do it. But my parents, I think, were wiser in saying that that wouldn't be appropriate for me. But James Harris uh, got me a great agent. He just, I don't know why, he just loved my family, and
Okay, great. Hmm.
And so I started working almost immediately in film.
Did you stop going to school and get tutored on the set, or you went to school and worked at the same time? How did it work in those days?
I was going to Santa Monica High School,
Mhm.
and instead, I transferred over to Hollywood Professional School, which they should do a show about that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was hilarious. And well, I mean, it was wonderful, wonderful, but and so interesting. And then I was tutored on set.
Okay.
But my main career started in my late teens and early 20s. You know, with a variety of shows. I did almost every show on television as the ingenue. Um, and I didn't have to interview. I didn't have to audition anymore. I just did them. They called me.
Yeah, so you got on the circuit and got the attention. So Lost in Space was your major role. I mean, you were a pivotal part. I want to tell you, I'm sure people come up to you and tell you this all the time. When we were little, I grew up in a neighborhood in suburban New York where there was 1,000 kids in the street every day. And we played Lost in Space all the time and we picked the parts. And you would think I was Penny based on my coloring, but I always played Judy. So I want to let
Right.
you, yes. And it was, just iconic. So was that your first major role where you were recognized nationally?
Actually, I did the first two-parter on television with Tony Dow called 4 Feet in the Morning, and
Hmm.
it was about abortion and teenage pregnancy, and that was 1965, just the beginning.
Wow.
And you couldn't even talk about pregnancy, and I mean, people were made to sleep in separate beds,
Yes, yes.
and the question of any kind of sexual question was unspoken, and couldn't be shown on television, and because of the censors, and which was started by the Catholic Church. I'm Catholic, so
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was just, you know, no, stay out of the business. Anyway, that's my uh, prejudice, and so I had so I did have recognition. I
Okay.
mean, it was called 4 Feet in the Morning, and it went from Dr. Kildare to 11th Hour, and it was quite an amazing take on the angst that a teenager has about her sexuality and then getting pregnant, and what you have to you have to disrupt everything in your life for the sake of a child, trying to self-abort, and because of abortion not being legal, of course, during that time, and it's changing a bit.
That's very interesting because that's really heavy.
Yes.
And I'm curious, how did it affect you personally? Did you go home and on your downtime, did that have a very profound effect on you emotionally?
I understood the navigation that a teenager has to go through in order um, to figure out their lives and their future, and to navigate that and to have a child, just the thought of it horrified me, because I had so many ambitions, and I wanted to make a difference in the world. I know that doing television, people might not think that you affect people, but you do.
Oh, yeah.
And theater, I always found that in theater, doing certain parts that were emotional and exhibited some kind of human emotion that everyone felt, so yes, it horrified me that there was so little support
Hmm.
uh, for that and understanding, and you became, the woman especially became, someone who developed a bad reputation. Here she had sex when she was 16, and oh, but the guy, well, that was a very different thing, that he was some hunk,
Right. Right.
And so to to understand the role of a woman, and my father had always said that about pregnancy, that it's the woman who bears the burden. So that kept playing over and over in my head about what happens to this young woman, what happens to the girl, what happens to their relationship. It's not going to last, you know it. But I was pretty sophisticated for my age, so and I had parents who wanted to discuss issues like this, and so it was yeah, it did affect me in making me think that don't get married too young, don't have children too young, you know, just understand what raising a child, the responsibilities, the extreme responsibilities it takes to do so.
You had stellar parenting because most people would shun what the kids said and shut them down and say we don't talk about that and that's inappropriate and you're not allowed. It's fabulous that you had parents that were open and willing to discuss that with you. That was really not the norm in those days, and not in the 70s either.
Oh yeah, you're right. I didn't, you know, I hadn't thought of that because my parents were so open
Yeah.
and had um, so many good not only philosophical, but psychological issues that we talked about. That I mean, they didn't have it, but we talked about the social, societal issues that were that absolutely needed to be talked about, and are done more so today, but probably too much.
Yeah, yeah. We need to balance that back. So, getting back to our childhood fascination, Lost in Space, Star Trek, My Favorite Martian, The Jetsons. You know, as a kid, that enhanced our belief in life on other planets, all the ETs that are out there. Do you feel Lost in Space affected America's perception of the space program? And it predated the man on the moon. Do you think that had an impact? It did on me. So I'm curious what you as a cast and those of you creating the show felt the impact it was having. Was it kitschy? Was it funny? Were you kind of laughing behind the scenes? I can't believe we're doing this. Or did you really have a deep feeling about being in space?
I had followed the space program, I think from the late 50s. I remember when Russia or
Yes.
Soviet Union, I think it was 1958, when they launched the first astronaut. And then JFK, of course, starting uh, the space program. Well, NASA was started by Eisenhower, and JFK picked up on that, and the space race began, and it, it it fascinated me because I had always read sci-fi. Even as a young girl, 10 years old, I was reading Ray Bradbury's early books and some of Isaac Asimov,
Mhm.
and uh, and I I would look up at the stars and say, "There's so much out there. What is out there? We can't be the only ones." And so the idea of traveling with a family in space, 1997, by the way, we're a
Right.
little bit behind, was fascinating to me. I thought, well, it won't only uh, make the adults think and draw them in, but it will be an amazing uh, uh, revelation for children. And as you said, you played Lost in Space, and I hear that so often. And it opened up the imagination of looking up at like what I did and realizing that there is something out there, you know, there is, and it opened up that possibility. So yeah, I think it was a wonderful experience for children to watch this show and see that there are many possibilities out there.
And that's really what I mean. Did you feel at the time you were having an impact, or you had the foresight to see that this is going to go down in history as something that children will look to and remember fondly forever? At the time, did it feel real?
Oh, no, as an actor, you sort of you do your work and you hope that it will have an impact on someone who's watching and give them some kind of feeling of hope or joy or understanding about themselves. And so I did uh, actually, I didn't want to do the show at first because I was doing every show on television. I was doing theater. I was, I had ideas of going to New York and doing theater there. But Irwin Allen kept calling me. He had seen me in a show called Greatest Show on Earth with Jack Palance and Stu Irwin. And I played a high wire uh, walker who was a complete klutz on the ground. And but and he knew that I was working on every show on television, so that I had great experience. And there's sort of there at that time there were only three networks, of course, and so you
Mhm.
were whoever was working at that time on various shows, they would call in because they knew they could do the work. And uh, yeah, so the idea of doing a show with so many people in the cast made me feel like, well, that's might not be where I want to go. I mean, it was an adventure, family adventure sci-fi series. And I asked Erwin in the beginning, he was the producer. I said, Erwin, I'm so worried that I'm just going to be forgotten, with the cast. And he said, "Oh no, I have so many different stories for you, and we have Mark Goddard who's playing Major West, and there'll be, there's a lot of things that we can do for between the two of you, a romance."
Yeah.
I mean, he had all these ideas, and they weren't realized, which was quite disappointing. But I must say, I think the first year the black and white shows were what Irwin had promised.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then Batman came on, and the look of television shows changed, and the writers realized that they could write for Dr. Smith, the robot, and Little Will easier than they could for the family, the other members of the family, and Major.
Interesting. That's how I remember when that shift happened. I'm curious, because a lot of people who don't understand, I am not an actress, but I've done I do a lot of television with my work with, wellness and fitness and nutrition and healthy living. A lot of people think that there's almost a hokiness behind the scenes, but the truth is a lot of thought goes into every single moment that's happening. People don't realize that. Did you have NASA or space experts come on to consult about the time frame and the science of space travel and being trapped on another planet, or the robot, or the interaction with aliens? Did somebody come, or did the writers just have a ball with it?
Well, a little bit of both.
Okay.
I'm sure that Irwin Allen, had an association with NASA during the development of the series, but he was in a way a child himself. I mean, in terms of his thinking, he thought about monsters and about people eating plants,
Right,
and
right.
and how a child would think about that, and but the main goal, I think, of his show was to bring the idea of family unity. I
Mhm.
know it wasn't overt, but I think that was very, very important to him in the beginning of the show. I mean, we always ended up somehow the family sitting around together and enjoying each other. And I'm glad that monster is gone. Or that that rock has stopped moving by itself. Uh, but it was about family, and frankly, even though it changed in the second and third years, I think that it had a certain it brought people in because it had so many different elements to it, and but it had as what I think we need to discuss even more now, and that is the family unit, and how people are always on their phones now.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you were talking, you were experiencing things together, and you were helping each other and supporting each other. And not that that doesn't happen anymore, but I get frustrated when I see people walking their walking their child in a stroller, and they're on their phone.
Right. They're distracted. They're not
It's
parenting.
so
They're, yep.
distracted. And I said,
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
and I want to yell out to them, get off your phone and talk to that child. Whether it's asleep, sing to it. Do
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I did, and I found it wonderful, that sense of belonging and communication. Because maybe because I didn't have it in my first 5 years.
Yeah.
I so much want people to start at restaurants, get off the phone and talk. Put them away at school. Put the phones away. Um, uh, we're always on the grid, and um, anyway, that's
No,
it.
I
Well,
totally,
yeah, Becky.
100%. And I think, holidays need to come back in a big way where the families are all together. This is a whole nother afternoon to talk about it, but I think the pandemic put us on Zoom and on electronics. We got even further and deeper into that. And we're trying to pull that back in our family as well, is have everybody come in person, shut everything off, and just enjoy each other. Um, so on the set, did you feel like a family with your castmates?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had so much fun. I mean, even though I was quite a bit older than Bill Mumy and Angela Cartwright, Will and Penny,
Yeah.
uh, I would go to the tunnels. We would sneak into the tunnels underneath 20th Century Fox, and on our lunch hour, we were very responsible about being on the set,
Yeah.
and it was dusty, and we'd go up, see a manhole, and we'd pop up, and there'd be Peyton Place.
Yeah.
And we didn't do it often, but and Mark Goddard would join us once in a while, and we were all children, doing that, and it was so much fun. And Guy and June, oh my God, oh, they were just they were probably two of the smartest people I've ever known. Uh,
Wow.
oh my God. And Guy would play, I would hear this amazing classical music coming out of his dressing room. And June and Guy taught me how to play Killer Scrabble. And
Oh, really? That's my
oh,
favorite game. I play it all the
oh,
time.
oh,
Yep.
I love
Yeah.
Scrabble.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't played it in a long time, but I used to, I mean, it's funny. My husband, who had been an attorney, plaintiff's elder abuse attorney, so doing really good work. But he had some very good friends who were higher ups in Washington, D.C., and attorneys there. And I remember one who came to visit, and I got the Scrabble board, and I said, well, who wants to play Scrabble? And he said, I'll play Scrabble.
Mm.
And well, I started, giving out the 7-letter words and what cues without the U's, and he paled,
Yeah.
and I beat him, and
Yeah.
he was surprised and wasn't terribly happy, but blondes can play
Gone.
Scrabble. And because June Lockhart, who has to be one of the smartest, I mean, well-informed, um, multi, multi, what would you call it? Ability to do so many things and know about so many things. If you ask her a question, like I wanted to give my husband something special for his 50th birthday. So I thought, well, he's always looked at the Goodyear blimp. And so I was, oh, I said, oh, I wish I were on that. So I called, I said, that's what I'll give him. I'll give him the Goodyear blimp as a present. I said, oh, who can I talk to? June. And of course, June said, oh, Marta, what a hoot. I would love to do that. And let me call you back. There's only one condition that I do this on, though, however. And she said, and I said, oh, what? And she said, that you take me. And I,
Oh,
yeah, of course. So she arranged it and we did it. And it was such a delight to see his face.
amazing,
Drive
amazing.
up to and see the Goodyear blimp.
So
He
that's
said,
almost a form of space travel. That was out of our
yes,
way out of our realm of thinking, that
yes.
anybody would do that. Plus, they were considered so scary. So that's a wonderful story and an amazing experience that you all did that together. Are you still in touch with the surviving members of the cast of Lost in Space?
I am. I just spoke with Bill the other day.
Okay.
Bill, I keep trying to get Bill to travel with me to go to different conventions, but of all things, he's afraid of flying.
Oh, is he really? Wow. I've been
Well,
I've been
uh,
I've been trying to track him down to have him come on the show also because he's just, Danger Will Robinson as we live by that and we would love
right,
to have him
right.
on. So I'm glad to hear that he's doing well though. That's fantastic.
Yeah, he doesn't
Marta,
want to be in crowds. Yeah,
yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Marta, I know Lost in Space is what most people think of when they hear your name, Marta Kristen Kane, but you appeared on so many other shows and movies throughout the years. And I hope this discussion, inspires our listeners to go back and look at your other work. Not that you're totally pigeonholed, but, I just want people to know that, how multidimensional you are and how much you've done before, during, and after Lost in Space. We're focused on it, but there's so much. You were Lorelei in the movie Beach Blanket Bingo. We all remember that. I mean, I was a little kid, but I remember that. I love the beach movies. Frankie Avalon, Annette Funicello was, iconic in those days. You were in My Three Sons, Leave It to Beaver, Man from U.N.C.L.E., Dr. Kildare, Mannix, Alfred Hitchcock Presents. These are shows that just shaped and formed a generation, multi-generations. The kids who were teenagers at the time loved those shows. The kids who were little at the time loved those shows. And like I said, we all took props, whatever was available to us, and played those shows as games, as children. You talk about not having, we didn't even have phones. We would go out and
God
we had no
forbid.
supervision, and parents had just come back whenever. And we really learned so much just from that, that play and that using our imaginations. So where are you at with it now? What are you doing now? And do you like doing the conventions and the appearances of shows from the 60s and talking about that?
Very much so. I love
Yeah.
going to.
Are you acting at all? Are you doing theater or television at all right now?
I continue to
Mhm.
uh, work in theater. I'm very much a part of the group called the Ruskin Theater
Mhm.
Company in Santa Monica, and I always have taken classes. Because I like to keep my instrument, still going.
Yes. Mhm.
And I'm writing, well, I've written a children's story. It's called Birgit's Dream. It's
Mhm.
my dream as a child in the orphanage and what I was longing for. And that is a safe home, a loving, unconditionally loving and safe home. And it's a very sweet story. But what I've just working on the mock book and doing my own illustrations. I'm a painter. You can see part of.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Um, and so I'm always busy. I take dance class on in the evenings for an hour and a half on Mondays and Wednesdays. I hike every day with my dog. I think it's essential for a person to always have some kind of purpose and some kind of dream to go forward, some kind of goal. And if you don't, and you just sit, and of course I'm physically capable and able to do things. But it's because I've always been active. Was a gymnast when I was young. I've always been a hiker. Traveled through the Himalayas with my late husband 5 different times.
Wow.
Trekking in the Himalayas. We got up to 17,000 feet, which isn't bad, but yeah. So I think it's just a matter of staying active and eating well, but always having a purpose, always having a goal in mind so that there's something that you can reach out
Right.
to.
And that was my closing question is always, what do you like about getting older?
There's a lot of things I like about getting older. I mean, I have more aches and pains, of
Yes.
course. I have arthritis in my hands and my hand. I have, in my feet. It's a little more difficult to get up in the morning, but at the same time, I'm smarter. I am definitely wiser. I have more patience. My, I hope that I'm giving out certain kinds of feelings of light and love to people. I think without uh, working from your heart and trying to give that out, um, life becomes black. It
Yeah.
becomes deadened in a way, and if you need to speak from that and look at people and smile. After Kevin died, my husband, it'll be 8 years in May. It seems like yesterday, but I called my priest because I was in such grief
Mm.
and I didn't know what to do with myself, and where to turn, how to do it. I was just in a state of suspended animation, I guess you could call it in a way. And anyway, he said, Marta, I want you to go out and I want you to smile at someone. And I said, huh? And he said, just do it. So of all places, I went to Home Depot. I I liked walking up and down the aisles. My father was a great handyman and builder and all of that. So I always followed him around like a puppy dog. So I walked around Home Depot and looking at lights and machinery and paints and I got a few things. And as I was going out to the cashier, um, I thought, I haven't really smiled at anyone. I haven't talked to anyone. Now's my opportunity. So he was just looking down and just looking down, and people were, oh yeah, and taking the things and giving them the receipt, and I, instead of immediately just putting things in, I just stopped and I looked at him, and he looked up, waiting for me to do something, and I just smiled.
Yeah.
And he smiled back. And it was like both of us were smiling for the first time. I mean, it was something, there was a connection. And it was because I was so desperate in need of a
And did it lift you? Did you get the feeling? Did it bring
I
you back
did.
to life somewhat? And yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's what Monsignor is talking about.
Yeah.
Smile at someone.
Right.
And and so I tried to do that. Like every day I tried to go out and just smile at someone. And it started to change me and started to heal the hole in my heart.
Yeah.
And uh it's still there, but what is it, who said the wound is where the light enters.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful, Rumi said that, the poet Rumi. The wound is where the light enters. And I think that was what Monsignor was talking about.
Wonderful. Marta, this has been such a beautiful fun, engaging, and enlightened conversation. Thank you so, so much for being here. And I look forward to speaking with you again. I hope we can do that soon.
I
And
hope
I
so.
also want to thank all of you for joining us here. And I'm Patricia Greenberg. Please subscribe to the channel for more information, feedback, and topic discussions. Again, thank you, Marta, and have a wonderful, beautiful day.
Thank you.